Hey, what's up guys? So, today I'm going to be going over my top 5 Super Nintendo games. Super Nintendo is my favorite console of all time. And maybe I'm doing this more for me than for other people, but I just want to go over what I think are games that everyone must play, but of course they're my very favorite. Alright, number 5 on the list is Super Mario RPG, Legend of the Seven Stars. Great game, there's a lot to do, the music's fun. You can play as several of the different Mario characters, but also I really like the mechanics in the game. In the middle of the turn-based fighting, there's timing where you can press the buttons that really involves the player and really involves you in those fights instead of just pressing something, watching your character attack, watching the other person attack you. So made it fun, and also just the environment you move through is pretty cool. And I also really like the art direction that the game took, where it's like a, I don't know how to describe it, like a kind of like pseudo-real cartoony take. I really like that art style, which is probably one of the reasons why it goes down as one of my faves. Number 4 for me would definitely be Mega Man X. Mega Man X is definitely one of my favorite games, not only because of the level designs, but I'm a sucker for upgrades, right? Like if you can upgrade in a game, you can make your character better, you can get a new booster, get some, you get the knee pads that let you dash and everything. Like, I love that stuff. And I also love that his look changed with every upgrade he got. And also, I really like that every time after you beat a boss, that you get a new upgrade that totally changes the outfit that you're wearing. That was really cool. But also, they really thought about the items that they would give you. And the timing that they would give you those items, and particularly they thought about the upgrades you would get after you would beat each boss. There's order that you can beat the bosses that allow you certain weapons that allow other bosses later on in the game to become significantly easier than if you wouldn't have had that upgrade to begin with. That's something I really like about the game. Obviously, the music is a lot of fun. I'm again a sucker for music in video games. I really like music and soundtrack in video games, and Mega Man X definitely had a great one. But another thing that I really like in this game, and that there's a few games that do it, and there's several games that do it actually, but is finding the little hidden gems within the game. So the game was made by Capcom. And Mega Man actually, many of you probably know, but maybe you don't, you can get to a certain point in the game where if you've pretty much completed everything up to the last boss, you've gotten all the upgrades, all the reserve tanks, all the hearts, that you can get a little Hadouken that Ryu and Ken have in Street Fighter. And this thing, you have to have full health in order to use it, but whenever you use it, it kills any boss instantly. And any character in the game instantly, with the exception of the last form of Sigma. But anyways, Mega Man X, phenomenal game. Definitely check it out and play it if you've never played it. Number 3, classic Super Nintendo game, a franchise that's been around forever and will probably be around forever. Super Mario World. Gotta love it. You hear the intro music and it just instantly brings me back to my childhood. Instantly. I love the color that they play with in the game. Really bright colors. I like that, and I like really round shapes. It feels almost like a baby's game. It just really does a phenomenal job at putting you in a very playful atmosphere. And which I think is one of those reasons that if you played it when you're a kid, you can just hear the music or you can see it on screen, and it instantly brings you back to feeling like you were when you were a kid. Right? I think that's why a lot of us collect Super Nintendo games and love Super Nintendo and a lot of other retro gaming consoles, because it brings back those feelings we had when we were kids, right? On top of there just being some pretty awesome, sick games. One of the things I really like about Super Mario World is that there's the secret levels you can unlock, right? And that you can unlock a certain amount of levels and beat the game in several different ways, having or not having beaten every level, right? There's alternate levels, there's certain levels that when you unlock, it changes the world that you're actually playing in. You can go back to other levels and they're different after you've beaten certain levels. I really like that, and I also like that within the levels themselves that there is that there's alternate ways to beat certain levels. For example, some of the haunted houses have various ways of beating them, different doors you can that take you to the exit, and the different doors and different ways of beating those levels actually affect the outcome of either what happens after that level or affects the world you're in. So I really like Super Mario World. I know it's a classic, but it's definitely number 3 for me. Alright, number 2 is a game that I love, and it was really hard putting it at number 2 because I feel like for a huge chunk of my life it was actually number 1. But I have to do number 2. I have to put it at number 2, and that is Donkey Kong Country 2, Diddy's Kong Quest. I love this game so much. This is such an awesome game. I really like Donkey Kong Country, the original. It's a phenomenal game, great music. Number 3 was fun, very playful as well. But something about number 2 just really stands out as the shining gem out of the 3 Donkey Kong Country games to me. First, one thing that all 3 Donkey Kong Country games did that I really like is, again, they had that like pseudo-real like graphic art style. I really like that, and I think that that's somewhere where maybe these new Donkey Kong Country or Donkey Kong games coming out on like Wii U and these newer Nintendo systems are missing out on. It's one of the things that trademarked these Donkey Kong Country games was their art style, and something about when you kind of put a realistic twist on the cartoons, it stands out and feels more real to the player, and feels like you're interacting with something that maybe could actually exist, right? At least that's my take on it. So I really like that, but I also like on Donkey Kong Country 2, I love all the levels, and I really, really love that probably the first, like, I don't know, 6 times I beat this game, I didn't realize that I hadn't actually beat it. That I got to King K. Rool, I beat him and everything, the game was over, right? But that there's the alternative way to beat it, which is actually the right way, the true way to beat it, where if you get all the DK coins and pretty much do everything in the game, that you can fight this real form of King K. Rool, which is a blast to do, and when you discover that after years of playing it, it's like you discover a whole nother new section of the game, which I thought was really cool. And there's like this little world, a lot of you probably know, a little world, you have to beat all these crazy levels in it in order to actually get to this second form of King K. Rool. And I think in the past, I saw those levels and I was just like, what's that about, right? I was so young, and I didn't ever actually beat them and just beat the game the other way and thought that was, those levels were like levels that were left over or hanging out that didn't need to be beaten. So I really like that. And then the last thing I'll say, again, the music in this game just blows me away. Literally, sometimes, as dorky as it sounds, sometimes I'll be at work and have headphones on and I'll literally listen to the Donkey Kong Country 2 soundtrack. It like chills me out or makes me think. Like, it's just really, it's just well composed music, and combined with a lot of the environments that are in the game, it's just something that goes down in your memory forever. Alright, and then number 1, my absolute number 1, will have to be Shaq Fu. I'm just kidding. Shaq Fu sucks. My number one is definitely going to be a game that has withstood the test of time. Always comes back. It's been the game I've played the most on the system. And just like now, being in my late 20s, just like when I think of the system, I can't imagine the system without this game. And that is Super Metroid. Super Metroid, to me, is one of the most well thought out and complicated games on the system. I think that I love the environment, the creepy atmosphere. I love that it's essentially every area in the Super Metroid world is technically open to you from the get, even though there are areas that you have to achieve certain things in order to get to. But it's open in the sense that it's not like a lot of the games during its time where you had to beat a level to get to level 2, and then you beat the second level, got to the third level, and then you got to a boss, right? Like Donkey Kong Country, for example. This game was all open from the get. There's so many little items, upgrades you can get. It's just a great game. The bosses were so much fun and still are so much fun. And I still think to this day there's things I figure out about it when I go back and play that I didn't know the previous play. I discover a quicker way to get to a certain area in the game, or a more effective way to collect my missiles, or different combination of my weapons to help me, defeat certain bosses a certain way a little faster. But one of the things that really stood out to me this last playthrough, which goes back to the reason that I love this game so much, is that this last playthrough I figured out that there's a way to use several of the items that you have in special ways. There are certain button configurations you can use to let you, for example, regenerate your health, right? There's this thing you can do where if you have a certain amount of missiles, you can do this certain button configuration, and Samus goes into like this cell looking thing, and you can see her silhouette, and she regenerates all of her health, if not all, most of her health, at the expense of your missiles. Stuff like that. There's another one where a certain button configuration with a certain weapon equip that you can like create this shield thing. Those are things I totally didn't know, and you actually don't need to know them in order to beat the game, or even 100% the game. But it's one of those things that when you figure out, it just keeps adding value to the game, right? And keeps making it exciting. And I trust that there's tons of things that I have yet to learn about that game, which is why, again, Super Metroid is my #1 Super Nintendo game. So if you like this video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. I plan on making many more videos, and this is just kind of, I had been thinking about this idea for a while, and yeah, video games are something I have fun doing. I have fun sharing my opinion. I love hearing feedback from other people and hearing what their opinions are and how they experience, their own video game universe. So this is Bro Gamer Bro. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you later.
Check that it's still recording, babe.
Okay, let's check.
You just need a red flashing dot on the screen.
Yeah, it's still recording.
Okay, cool.
But the bottom right red is blinking as if it's gonna die or something.
That's just that it's hot.
Oh, okay. Like me.